Hi, boys and girls, and welcome to our final part 3 of today's lesson on Claude Monet. So, you guys are going to need to get out some sort of medium to create on. So that could be a piece of paper, a canvas. If you want to create it digitally today, we used Sketchpad in part 2 of today's lesson. I'm actually going to use another digital drawing platform called Autodraw. Just so that I can make it really clear on the screen as we're drawing our parts, so you could do it digitally if that's something that's interesting to you, or you can just use a good old-fashioned paper and pencil. So what we're going to do is we're going to be drawing one of Claude Monet's famous art pieces that we looked at during the slideshow during part 2. So I want you guys to get ready with your paper and whatever you would like to sketch out the composition with. I would suggest using a pencil or something that you can erase with. If I'm moving too quickly for you or you need some extra time, feel free to pause this video at each different step so that you can complete the art piece at your own pace. Now, I know that not everybody has paints and paintbrushes, so something that I noted while we were learning the art history portion, we talked about how Impressionist painters don't usually do outlines. They usually use paint strokes to depict their art pieces. But because I know that everybody doesn't have paint, we are actually going to outline our art pieces so that you can color them in with whatever you have, whether that be crayon or markers. Just because I think that that is what is going to work best for the supplies that you have in your home. So get everything ready and let's begin our art piece. I'm pulling up my reference photo of Claude Monet's water lily pond. We talked about how he built this little bridge over his pond. So we're going to start out by drawing that. And yeah, let's get started. So I am going to pick my color. I think I'm just going to start out with black for the outline, if it will let me choose. There we go. Okay. So let's put our paper wide ways. So I'm going to just draw a little line right here. Wow, that is messy. I think I can probably do a little better than that. I'm actually going to do just a shape so that we can have our border for our paper. So the paper that you're looking at is probably about this size, I would say. So go ahead and put it wideways. And we're going to start by drawing from side to side an upside down U shape. I don't like how thick that is, so I'm going to make mine a little thinner. An upside down U shape from the center. Ooh, I got to get used to using this new application because it seems like my digital art skills are a little rusty. Okay, so start out by drawing a U shape, upside down U shape, a sad face from side to side of your drawing. Then we are going to do another upside down U shape. So we're kind of carrying it over our paper. So it's like going off the page a little bit. So we're going to do an imaginary shape right there and then pick it up where it left off. So that is our bridge that is going to be above the pond. And the bridge had some different wooden pieces holding it up. So we're going to go ahead and add those in. So we're going to do those same upside down U shapes. We're going to do those twice like that. And like I said, if I'm moving too fast for you, go ahead and just pause the video, do your steps, and then continue to play the video so that you are caught up with what we are doing. Then we are going to draw these little beams that are essentially holding this bridge in place. It was said that Claude Monet actually built this bridge, which I think is pretty cool. But as an artist, building things, which is known as architecture, is kind of an art in its own right. So it makes sense that someone who is so into painting would also be into building, especially building something that would help him look at one of his favorite subject matters, which is water lilies. So we have our beautiful bridge that goes over our water lilies. So the pond in this image, it looks like there is a lot of greenery and bushes around it. So we're going to kind of draw these squiggly lines where the plants are that kind of go around the pond like that. So we just have a border for where we want our where our water of our pond is going to be. And it looks like there's a lot of water lilies in this art piece and a lot of trees that are just filled with many different leaves. So let's get started with this. So we are going to start with drawing some water lilies. So water lilies have petals that kind of come out to a little bit of a point like that. We can draw however many as you would like. You could draw 20 of these if you wanted to draw them really small. Or let's do at least 5 in ours. And again, don't be afraid to pause your video if you need to catch up. I know that I am moving a little bit quickly through this. Okay. So there are our water lilies, and water lilies float on something called lily pads, or they kind of grow on them, and that's what makes them float, I believe. I'm not sure actually exactly the science behind how water lilies work, but a lily pad looks like a circle with a little, almost like a little mouth. Kind of looks like a Pac-Man, little Pac-Man shape. So we're going to draw our circle, get our little edge like that. So we'll have 5 lilies on lily pads. And I think something that we should add are just like a couple more lily pads, different shapes, different sizes, facing different ways. I think having some kind of coming off the page would look interesting, just because in Claude Monet's depiction of this image, the entire pond seems to be filled with flowers and lilies, so much so that you can barely see the water. So I think adding these lily pads is a really fun way to make it interesting. Now, at this point, I think it is really cool to add in color because I think this is a really good basic outline because as we talked about, impressionist artists don't outline too much. So we're going to want to use like a bunch of different layers of colors. And this is something that is going to be really fun to do digitally. I'm excited. But something that I want to note is that if you maybe don't have a bunch of different, say like green, for instance, because what we're going to do is we're going to kind of add like, I'm going to make this a little thicker. We're going to add like a bunch of different values of green on our lily pads to start and kind of map out, like I'm going to add it where our plants are. We're going to layer a bunch of different types of greens. So if maybe say you only have one green crayon or one green colored pencil, what you can do is you can actually just end up pushing harder and softer to get those different shade range of green. But say you have like 3 different green colors, you could use those 3 different green colors to get that layered look that we're going for. I've never used this online drawing tool before, but so far it is pretty fun. Okay, so we're gonna go in and go for a different shade of green now. And yeah, we're just kind of filling it in, adding different greens to show kind of the texture of the plants. This is kind of impressionistic style. It's not completely abstract because when you're far away, you can really see what type of image it is. But in a way up close, it is kind of abstract because you have all these different lines and shapes that you wouldn't necessarily typically find in nature that together kind of make up this big image. So you can have fun with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. As you can see, I'm not coloring all the way in the lines. Let's add another type of green. And that way we're not just coloring in the area that has plants just one green color. That would kind of make it flat and one-dimensional. This way we're adding that unique layering that is Impressionism is so famous and well known for. Like I said, if you have paints, this could be something that's really fun to do. If you have watercolors, adding different amounts of water to get your different shade ranges of green, that is something that could be fun as well. Or if you're using acrylic paint and you have just one green, you can add little bits of black and white to create various shades and tints of your color. A shade being when you add black to a color and a tint being when you add white to a color. Let's see if we have another green color in the mix. Ooh, I like this one. We'll make that one even smaller. And this process can be a little bit tedious because we're adding our layers, but I think it just makes it look really interesting. And if you are interested in using this particular website that I'm using to create your own, it is called Autodrawcom. So if you type in autodraw.com in your search engine, it will take you to this really cool website. This is really cool way to get introduced to graphic design as well, which is something that is a really cool career path that you can have with art. So I think after we're done with this green, we're about done with our lily pads, and we can start working on our actual pond. So we're going to use, if you guessed, various shades of blue. You are correct. That is exactly what we are going to use for this. Making sure that I don't go over the spots on the greenery and the pond that I've already created. I'm having so much fun with this website. This is really cool. Right, so now we're ready to go in with a different color. I'm just kind of going over those areas that we didn't go over with the last shade of blue. Another way I can think of is if you're using markers, if you, it's kind of hard to get a shade range using markers, but it is possible when you go over some areas with more layers of marker than others, that can create some contrast. All right. I think we are ready for our next blue color. This one's kind of an aqua one, but I just really like how this mimics that really cool idea of layering that the impressionistic style was so well known for. And I like this way because although painting is so much fun, it can sometimes get very, very messy. And with this technique, we can get all kinds of different colors and layer them in a way that's very visually appealing, in my opinion. And it kind of hides those outlines that we talked about that the impressionistic style did not use. All right, I feel like we could maybe do one more variation of blue, if we can find one. Here's kind of a dark royal blue. Has a little bit of a purpley undertone. I still think that works for our dimensional water. And the last area that we're going to do in the pond section is our lilies. I think we're going to do a combination of pink, yellow, and white. There already is white, so I think we're just going to add pink and yellow to them. And then I'm going to have to look at our reference photo again for what colors are on the bridge portion. And then we're going to be finished with our Claude Monet inspired water lilies. Second grade, we made some water lilies earlier this year using paper, cutting out paper shapes and paint, and we cut out some 3D flowers. Those were in our office in the entranceway at our school, if you guys have seen those. So my second graders, you will be very familiar already with water ponds and water lilies. I actually don't like how dark that blue turned out. So another really cool thing about this application is that I can just add some more layers on top with a different blue to kind of break that up. So that's what I'm going to do. And I kind of like that there's still little bits of white that pop out, because if you have a pond, there would be a little bit of white reflecting the light. So I think that works to our benefit here. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to pick a pink color. Oh, that is very pretty for our lily. I'm actually kind of I'm breaking the rules here a little bit of outlining, but I'm going around that black because I kind of want that to be hidden, because a water lily wouldn't have a shadow that is quite so harsh. And remember that you can do as many water lilies and little, I'm forgetting the name for it, lily pads, as you would like. However, you would need to have at least 5 in your final piece. So I'm adding a little bit of yellow because there was some yellow in our piece. All right. Piece or reference that we were looking for inspiration. I'd like to do kind of a light gray if that is one of our color options. Yeah, a little bit of a light gray to add into our lily, to add even more dimension. All right, I am happy with how that looks. So like I said, I'm going to take a look at that reference photo, and it looks like there's a lot of white and blue in that. And actually, there's a lot of greenery poking through these little corner pieces. So we're going to need to add that as well. So I'm actually going to make my drawing utensil thicker. And I am going to go, I think I'm going to start off with gray. Let's see. Oh, that is very, there, that looks good. So I'm going to use this to kind of redraw. So if you're using a pencil, honestly, using your pencil to lightly shade in this area. I'm going a little bit off the page here. So kind of starting with gray base. Then we're going to add that lighter color. I'm going to make my little drawing utensil a lot smaller. Adding texture to it. Keeps thinking I want to click on it when I'm trying to draw on it. Adding our layering effect so it's not so one-dimensional. And as you can see, the cool thing about impressionistic style is that it doesn't have to be perfect. You are definitely okay to color outside the lines and have a little more abstract, unfinished, unpolished look. We're really just doing our best here. And honestly, if you remember anything from my class, I hope that there are no mistakes in art and you are all artists, and whatever you are creating, as long as you are putting your heart into it and putting a lot of effort into it, it's going to be beautiful. I am certain of that. I'm going to do actually some pure white, and then I'm going to go in with a light blue. And then we're going to add in the greenery behind our fence using the same technique we did a little earlier. And then we are going to be complete. Our masterpiece is going to be complete. I don't know if I like this app better or the one I tried in part 2 today, but I definitely like these digital drawing platforms that are free on the internet. Okay, I'm looking for a really light blue. I don't know if I'm gonna find exactly what I'm looking for. All right, I think I'm gonna settle with, if it'll let me click it, I'm gonna settle, use this blue right here. I'm gonna make it actually a little smaller. And I am happy with that decision. I like the way that looks with that. I like the option of being able to make our drawing utensil thinner or thicker, because it's kind of like just the pressure you would put on something. Like if you are drawing with a marker and you push harder, the line will be a lot wider than if you were pressing very lightly. Beautiful. Okay, so our last step is to add the greenery behind our beautiful fence that we just created. So I'm going to start out with a dark green and kind of lay that as our base. So I've come to find I kind of like that technique, having one color be the base and adding our colors over it with our layering technique that we learned. This would definitely be a lot of fun if we were in our art studio classroom right now, getting to use paints. That would be a very fun project. But we got the second best thing, which is doing it together in your home art studio. Okay, cool. So let's pick a different green color. Go with that green. Make our drawing utensil a little bit thinner. Go ahead adding our, these are just kind of our, we're just emulating the brush strokes, even though they are only digital brush strokes. Okay, I think we're gonna do 2 more greens, because I think the greens look really pretty with a lot of different layers, making it even, our drawing utensil even smaller this time. It keeps thinking I'm trying to click on the other previous brush strokes. I'm very happy with how this is turning out. I think it looks really unique. And last but not least, let's find another green shade. Let's do this bright green one, and we'll do that one in even smaller brush size. I definitely really like the way the varying brush stroke sizes look with this. I think what's cool about trying new online tools, like I said, I've never used this Autodraw website before. It's fun to get to learn how to do new things and new techniques. All right. So I am pretty happy with our digital rendition of Claude Monet's water lily piece. I look forward to seeing your water lily pieces uploaded to our Google Classroom. And yeah, I will see you in tomorrow's video.